For decades now, the Skyrider of the Spaceways, Silver Surfer, has been at the forefront of Marvel's universe. Through thousands of comics and years of fantastic storytelling and writing and character development, he is one of my favorites. And Marvel is actually bringing him back for a 5-issue miniseries written by John Jennings. However, in this 5-issue miniseries, they will be introducing a somewhat new character named Ghostlight. Now, there are 3 main things that I really want to emphasize within this video, so please hang with me to the very end, and I promise you guys will get a lot of great information. There is an article that I want to reference from John Jennings himself, the author. There is the 1969 issue number 5 Silver Surfer, where Al shows up, who is the character of Ghostlight. That was his first appearance, so I want to go through that story. And I also want to go through the first issue of the new series, Ghostlight, Silver Surfer Ghostlight, that just came out here in 2023, about 2 months ago. And you guys are going to love the 1969 issue number 5 of Silver Surfer. It is a beautiful depiction of heroism, representation, and a great new character that sacrifices himself for Silver Surfer. So let's get right into it. And one last thing before we get into this comic, I want to play this clip specifically by Stan Lee, and I want you guys to listen to it, really take it in, and have that in the back of your mind as I'm reading through this comic and as we go through this article, because I think it's really important. And we'll watch it again later on in the video, but yeah, that's all I gotta say, so here it is.
I've always tried to do our stories so that it didn't matter if you were of the white race, the black race, the brown race, or whatever. So social issues I try to get in the background or underlaying a plot, but never to the point of letting it interfere with the story or hitting the reader over the head.
So Al Harper, who is a black physicist who appeared in this issue, Silver Surfer number 5, which debuted in 1969, which is actually a few months before the creation of Sam Wilson, who we now know as Falcon. Silver Surfer is actually trapped on Earth by his former master Galactus because he helped humanity and betrayed his master. This artwork of Silver Surfer is absolutely gorgeous, drawn by the fantastic John Buscema. This really just depicts the kinetic energy, the blaster energy fields, and the spaceways that Silver Surfer is riding through. I love the cosmic dimension that he draws here. There's tons of colors, lots of great inking. I am just fascinated by this artwork, and it draws me in every single time. Silver Surfer is trying to get off Earth, and he ends up falling into the woods after hitting the energy barrier Galactus put around the planet. It just so happens that this black man, Al Harper, who happens to be a physicist, is actually looking for rocks when he finds Silver Surfer. So Al actually finds a way to disguise Silver Surfer's molecular structure so that the barrier may not be activated when he approaches it, and he says, "I think it's worth a try." So Surfer barrels through the barrier, and upon doing so, finds himself against the evil corruption of the Stranger. After finding the Stranger actually says that there is a bomb on Earth that only Silver Surfer can find, and only he can be the one to disarm it if he wants to save the planet Earth. And guess who Silver Surfer comes back to Earth for? He comes back to Al, to find Al, to get Al's help. No one else's. He didn't go to Reed Richards. He didn't go to Tony Stark. He went to Al Harper because he trusts Al, and he knows that he is going to be the one to help him find this bomb on Earth to save humanity. Al actually does find the bomb while Silver Surfer is fighting off the Stranger, and as Al is disarming the bomb, it releases a toxic smoke. He says it's booby-trapped. It contains its own built-in defense. Just touching it released a spreading vapor. It's like a smoky acid covering me, choking me, burning my clothes, my flesh, my lungs, but I can't stop. I mustn't stop. Have to finish what I started for the sake of everyone on Earth. And even as the very breath of life is agonizingly drained from his tortured body, Al Harper works on until at last the valiant heart can beat no more. I've done it. The bomb can't ever, and then he passes away. Once Silver Surfer sees that Al has sacrificed himself for the good of all of humanity, he comes back and says, "Of all who have dwelled among this planet, none are more deserving of solemn tribute than he, and tribute he shall have. So long as earth itself endures, that flame shall burn. May you sleep in peace, Al Harper, for you have been a hero." Now, after reading that, you can see my excitement at why I think Al Harper is such a great character, why I love Silver Surfer, why this book is so beautifully done, and why it is absolutely timeless. But things go a little sideways once we read the article, which is titled "Black Marvel Superhero Ghostlight Tackles Race and Social Division." It says UC Riverside Media and Cultural Studies professor John Jennings, just to note, doesn't say writer, it said cultural studies professor. So once again, Marvel is hiring people who are not comic book writers. Let's keep going. The article goes on to say that John Jennings says there seems to be just as much division as in the 1960s, just as much hatred, just as much violence, just as much ignorance, and just as much lack of empathy. So I thought that instead of having a character that was obviously created to die, I thought we needed him back to help us. So this is also where I heavily disagree with John Jennings here, because he says that the character was explicitly created and obviously created to just merely die. When I read this comic, he was not created to just merely die. He was created to help Silver Surfer and to show humanity the best of us. He was there to show us, the reader, what it means to sacrifice yourself, what it means to help others, to put your life on the line for something that you believe in. This is a story much bigger than just dying. This is a story of sacrifice, of giving of yourself, of giving your time and your effort, your abilities to help others. That's what this story is about. Not that Al was just created by Stan Lee just to die. Jennings also talks about in this article how he wants to reflect the black experience within America and diversifying the comic book industry, which is great and fine, and he has every right to do that. However, I would argue that this 1969 issue of Silver Surfer has more diversity, more agency given to this person of color. It does a better job representing Al than modern comics do. And this was in 1969. The article goes on to ask John, how does Ghostlight carry on Stan Lee's legacy? John says the title of the original story is "And Who Shall Mourn for Him?" It's like Stan Lee has created a character that is kind of like a Black Death Matters story. Stan Lee seems to want to have a conversation about race and about civil rights, because at the end of the story he creates this wonderful character that then he kills on purpose. He then asks us, this black man who has saved your lives and has saved the entire Marvel universe, do you care about him? Once again, I have to push back against this, because I don't inherently think that Stan made this story specifically only to talk about race relations. I think that this story supersedes that. I think it's grander than that. It's bigger than that. Did Stan probably put some underlying tones and themes of, racial injustices? Maybe. I'm sure that if you read that comic, you may be able to get that from this. But for me, it transcends that. It's bigger than that. It's bigger than just race or gender or politics. It's the human experience. It's human characteristics. It's not about these superficial outward things that we portray to others. It's our inward characteristics, our nobility, our courage, our honor, our integrity, our agency, our sacrifice. Those are human qualities that everyone of every race, of every gender can all agree on and resonate with. That's the story. That's the big thing. The last thing the article says is a lot of naysayers will say that comics and superheroes are not political, but I would argue that they're inherently political because as signifiers, they are able to carry so many types of political statements and symbolic messages. Now, I will be totally fair here and say that there are some superheroes and there are some comic books that absolutely push a political message or have some sort of political undertone, allegory, or subtext. Like, yes, of course, that has been been a thing throughout comic books. That has been a thing throughout art since the dawn of time, is some sort of message underlying theme. But to think that every single superhero portrays every single type of political statement or some sort of, right-wing or left-wing leaning message, I think may be misunderstood, because I think that superheroes, like I said, portray something greater than politics. Politics is something that is ground leveled. It's something that we toil in. It's something that a lot of people try and just scoff at, and they don't want to be any part of it. So the human experience is much greater, and it has such a bigger impact on people than political messages and political undertones, which is why I think that superheroes, I don't think inherently create political messages or have political messages within them. I think they have something bigger than that, which is the characteristics of humans, of hope, of bravery, of courage, of, like I said earlier, nobility and honor. Like, these things transcend time and space. They transcend politics. You can be on the right and the left, or you can be on either one and still agree that courage, honor, nobility, these beautiful characteristics of our superheroes, those are the main factors. Those are the critical points of those superheroes and why that makes them great. All right, so lastly, I want to take a look at issue number 1 of Ghostlight Silver Surfer that came out a few months ago. And the first thing I want you guys to notice is the artwork. The artwork comparatively to the 1969 issue is... I mean, the 1969 issue is far superior. It just is. Objectively, much, much better than the artwork we are getting here in Silver Surfer Ghostlight issue number 1. But for the most part, this first entire half of this number 1 issue, mind you, this is the first issue. This is your banger. This is what you want to come out with a bang, is pretty much just dialogue between this family. It's nothing really that exciting, and so you just kind of get these individuals talking with each other until finally, about midway through the book, we finally get something that happens. The two children find their way into this abandoned shed, and they realize that it's actually the shed of Al, and this is his kind of scientific lab. And so as they're in the lab, they accidentally touch one of his tools, which was the gun that Silver Surfer utilized to try and get himself out of the barrier that Galactus had put up. And by touching the gun, they set it off, and it blasts a huge laser beam into the sky and ends up reigniting the flame back on Earth that then reinvigorates and brings back to life Al Harper. That's issue number 1. For me, that it was weak. It was absolutely weak comparatively to the 1969 issue 5. This was slice of life, family matters. It had nothing galactic. It had nothing inspiring about this. The other thing that I wanted to bring up was, and here's my solution to this, I would love to see Al come back in a more courageous way or a more heroic way. Because as of right now, in that first issue, the kids kind of accidentally touched the machinery, to which it accidentally just happens to bring Al back to life. But for me, what I would want to see is, why not get Reed Richards and Silver Surfer together in a comic book issue, and they realize that there is a villain or something that's corrupting the Earth, and that the only way that they can figure out how to solve this problem is if they were to get Al. And so they have to resurrect him, they have to bring him back to life, and the three of them, Reed Richards, Silver Surfer, and Ghostlight, who is Al, have to figure out this way of defeating the bad guy. That would be something that would give him agency, right? It gives Ghostlight a reason to exist. This just kind of accidentally, he just happened to be resurrected, oops, he's back, as opposed to needing him to come back. That gives him much more agency. That gives him a reason to be represented within this book, not just, oops, I touched a button and he's alive again. That's so lame, and it's soft, man. It didn't pack a punch. It didn't hit home, and I really wish that we got more, because he's such a great character. He has such great representation from the original issue back in 1969. And this was a fart in the wind, in my opinion. So thank you guys so much for sticking with this whole video through with me, because I think it was really important that we tackled each one of these things, both comic books and the article. And I'm going to play that Stan Lee clip one more time for us, because I think it's really important that we have to hear what he said when he was writing this book, and how important these stories are to him, and just the fact that it transcends all race, gender, politics. These stories are meant to do that. It's about the human experience that transcends all time and space, and that is the main thing that I wanted to get out of this video, and what I wanted to get out of this book. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know in the comment section below if you are reading the new Silver Surfer Ghostlight, or if reading the 1969 issue of Silver Surfer may have wanted to get you to pick up the omnibus of the entire first, I think it's like 18 issues of the first Silver Surfer run with Stan Lee. So I would highly encourage you to pick it up. It is beautiful, Shakespearean level. I mean, it's so good. So thank you guys again for watching. I really greatly appreciate it, and I'll see you guys in the next video.
I've always tried to do our stories so that it didn't matter if you were of the white race, the black race, the brown race, or whatever. So social issues I try to get in the background or underlaying a plot, but never to the point of letting it interfere with the story or hitting the reader over the head.